And when was NCRD actually constructed, or shall we say where David is now?
You mean
Where the
that
pool,
recreation center?
the gymnasium and everything. Yeah, when was that? When was that?
Well,
built?
that was part of the school.
Okay.
They built all that when they consolidated, way back when.
Uh-huh.
And then when they shut the school down, the city of Nehalem, I happened to be on the city council, I was on it for 39 years. And the city of Nehalem ponied up $40,000 to save that facility. They were gonna just shut it down, let it go to hell.
When was that, you suppose?
Oh God, that had to be in it was in the late 80s.
Okay.
Somewhere in that vicinity, I would guess. I don't.
Well, Vern, tell me what was it as far back as you can remember? What was a typical day like as a young boy, as far back as you can remember? Would you be helping on the farm? Would you be fishing? Would
No.
you be?
When I didn't grow up on a farm.
Uh-huh.
My dad went in the service, and when he come back, he married my mom, and they built the house right above Wanda's Cafe. That's where I grew up. Right across from the lumber yard,
Yeah.
there's Wanda. That house right above it, my dad built.
Okay.
And to tell you about it, he was working at Wheeler Lumber Company at that time, and he got a pallet of lumber to build his house and rode it up on high tide and beached it down at the mouth, down off at 101 there. And at night after work, he'd pack them boards up the hill on his back to build that house.
Wow.
And
So you could very easily get to school then.
I just walked to school, it was only a block away.
Do you recall how many students were in the class?
Well, in them days, we had classes of about 20 to 25. One teacher taught them, corrected the papers. They didn't have teacher's aides. The teacher took care of her class. If she stayed after school to collect papers or correct papers or whatever, that's the way it was.
Were there several classes in one class, or it was like?
Yep, every class had its own room.
So
When they added on to school, they had 8 school classrooms. And of course, and the library, and I don't even know if it's what room it is now, but above the swimming pool was the first grade and the second grade on the east side of the building, and on the other side was the third grade and the fourth grade. And then you moved to the old section of the school, and you had the 5th and 6th grade, and the 7th and 8th.
Okay.
And them rooms are all there today.
And that's where NCRD is today. That's where the pool was right.
Yeah, the whole facility. Yeah.
Well, that gets to the question I know Dave's most interested in. Before the pool was built, what was underneath there? Nothing.
Nothing. You got a picture of the old school. It was just vacant land next to it. They just added the pool and built the other 4 rooms above it. And then they built the gym with a tunnel down below. And
well, the story you mentioned to us last time we talked, which I know Dave is interested in, of course you were a very young boy, so it's hard for you to recall what was really going on, but why was the decision made we need a pool?
yeah, well, these little schools, they had old wave vat tanks. And they'd fill them full of water, and the kids were trying to learn to swim in them. And when they consolidated the school, that's what I was telling you, they wanted to build a swimming pool so the kids would have a place to learn to swim. And A.C. Anderson was on the school board, and he was the one that was 100% against it. And his kid was down there on the city dock and fell in and drowned, and to turn the whole community around, and that's when they decided to really build a pool.
Wow, that's quite a story. Did you want him to repeat that, or have you got that?
Yeah, and they built it with horse. The farmers would come with their team of horses and slip scrapers and dug the hole. And when they finally got it dug, I don't know how they managed to get the money, but they got the money to pour the concrete and build. Of course, they consolidated, and that was in part of the consolidation, you know.
I think you had mentioned that Anderson was on the school board,
Yeah.
and he was opposed to the pool
He
before.
was opposed to it, and then when his kid fell in the river and drowned, he was all for it, and everybody else was pushing for it to begin with, so it got built. But they didn't just build a little pool. That was a regulation pool, and it was the only pool for many, many years that had the only school in the state of Oregon that had a swimming pool in the building.
Wow. And when
I don't
was?
think there's too many of them today.
I don't think so. When was the first time you swam in the pool?
Well, first grade, we started learning how to swim.
So you would be what, 6 years old then?
Yeah.
And that would have been in 19.
35?
Well, I graduated in '48, so it's
12 years off of that,
Yeah.
right?
36 then.
And the pool was actually completed in
1930.
1930.
oh yeah, it had been built probably 5 or 6 years before that. Oh yeah, the steam that. It was a nice facility. There's one little room in there today. I don't know if they use it for a dressing room or not, but it had a steam bath in it. We'd go in there and open up the steam valve and have a steam shower. Cut it. You couldn't ask for a better facility.
I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you suppose this area, the Nehalem Valley, was so instrumental in a pool? What precipitated, they thought it was so important for youngsters to learn how to swim?
I'm sure that was it after that kid drowned. Yeah.
Where did that accident happen, Vern? The drowning?
Right down there, right across from, right there where the city dock is now, as best I could tell, you know, by the sanitary authority there.
Can you remember as a really young toddler swimming in the river?
Very seldom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we very seldom. Well, it's cold.
Uh-huh.
The only times I really went swimming in the river is if we went picked like down by the state park, by the state boat ramp. We might have went swimming, but very seldom I ever did. When to go swimming, went in the pool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You were telling me about when later on, some years later, when the pump went out at the pool, and
Oh yeah.
they were afraid they were going to have to shut it down, and you came in and
Yeah, my wife worked at the cafeteria at school, and I went to pick her up in the afternoon about 3:30. The principal was there, I knew him, and he was kind of down the mouth. I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Not very good." I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I'm afraid we're going to have to shut the pool down." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, the circulating pump," he said, it's not circulating. He said, "All we're getting is bubbles out of it." And so I said, "Well, if you don't mind," I said, "I've been working with pumps for quite a long time. I'll go look at it for you if you want." He said, "Oh, I'd be glad if you did." So I went in there and I said, "Well, let's go down and look. I want to see what it's doing." And it was pumping a little water, but it was just blowing bubbles, horrible. So I said, went up to the boiler room and I looked at it. The packing gland was too blocked out. It had been taken up, all you could take it up. And he said, "We got a pump outfit in here last week." And he said, they tell us the pump was wore out. And he said, they want about $2,300 to replace it. And he said, "We don't have that money budgeted." And I said, "Well, can you shut it down?" He said, "Yeah." And so I said, "Get me some wrenches." Anyway, I backed the packing gland off and I got some screwdrivers and I got a ring of packing out, old packing. I said, "If you're not in any big hurry to go home," I said, "I'll run up the shop. I got all kinds of packing. I'll see if I got some this size," which I did. Anyway, I come back and I repacked the pump. And once I got done, he said, "Are you done?" I said, "No. You got to turn it on." And I said, "I got to let it wear in." I said, "As it runs, it's got to be loose, and then I keep tightening it. If you tighten it too much, you burn the packing up, you start over." I said, I need about 15 to 20 minutes anyway to let it run." Anyway, I'm dragging this out. Got all done with it, went down to the pool and looked, and it was running absolutely perfect. I completely repacked the pump. Hell, it probably run for them for a year or two.
When would that have been, Vern?
Oh God, that was back in, it had to be in the 70s,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I have a question to ask you again about Upper Town.